Everyone, time is now 7:33 and we will begin open session. I ask you to rise and participate in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. Good to see you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Tonight we'll begin with the open public hearing of the LaGrange Area Department of Special Education, LADSI, fiscal year 23 budget. Are there any comments for this public hearing? Okay, seeing as there are no comments, we will now close the public hearing on the LaGrange Area Department of Special Education fiscal year 23 budget. Our next item up is the agenda-related public participation. Marilyn, do we have any agenda-related comments this evening?
No, they're not agenda-related.
Okay, thank you. I guess then that concludes our agenda-related public comments for tonight. Next up, we have LTEA President Andrew Johannes. Hi, welcome back. Good to see you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Johannes. I'm the president of the LTA, which is the Lyons Township Education Association, or the Teachers Union. I hope that all of you had a nice July and had time to relax and spend time with your family and friends. I know I did, and it was kind of refreshing. I would first like to welcome the new faculty and staff members to LT. We've had quite a bit of turnover, but I think it's going to be exciting to have some fresh, new outlook on our school. So we're excited to have them be part of our team and look forward to working with them throughout the year. As the new 2022-23 school year is upon us, many teachers have been busily preparing their lessons and rooms for the students. I know that all the teachers enjoyed their summer break because it allowed them to refresh and recharge. While summer break is great, we are excited to be back with our students. The LTA is happy about the grading changes and optimistic that the changes will improve the the experiences for the students. The LTA supports the strategic plan and looks forward to working with the central leadership team to develop ways to meet our goals to reach that plan. We'd also like to thank the board members for their continued support and advocacy for the students of LT. The teachers truly appreciate all of your work. And finally, I want to wish everyone a happy and healthy school year. It feels like a new beginning. And the teachers stand united providing the highest quality education to the students of LT. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Andrew. Really appreciate having you here and really certainly hope everyone has been well rested and feels re-energized to come back. We are going to move on now with our student representative to the board, Matthew Walsh. We're excited to have you with us today. And we always look forward to hearing student perspective on things, all things LT related here. So thank you for taking time and joining us every month. We really look forward to this.
Of course. Hello,
Turn
all.
it to you.
Yes. As she said, my name is Matthew Walsh. I'm honored to be in the position of student representative this year, and I'm really looking forward to just a great year with all you. So, to begin, this summer, LT offered many student summer school classes starting on June 6th. Some of these classes were physics, culinary arts, consumer economics, geometry, and many more. For extracurriculars, many LT clubs got to participate in the LaGrange Pep Parade on June 4th. Some of these clubs were WTL and the LT Marching Band. Different LT clubs and athletics offered youth camps and clinics over the summer as well. This included boys basketball, football, choir, competitive cheer, and more. Seniors have started to take and sign up for their senior portraits. LT students Graham Sackley and Jack Myers organized a nonprofit 5K on July 14th. Now in the fall sports started their season on August 8th, which was last Monday. Very exciting. All students had their book pickup on various dates this month, where they picked up their supplies and took the yearbook photos. The Student Council and other clubs have been working hard to organize this year's Freshman Experience Day, which will take place on August 19th. The first day of school for students is on August 22nd, next Monday, which we're looking forward to. Auditions for groups such as Eurythmics, the Drumline, and Madrigals are taking place in August to start off the school year. And lastly, many students and members of the LT community are already preparing for Homecoming and Homecoming Spirit Week, which begins on Sunday, September 18th.
Awesome. Thank you. lots and lots of stuff going on already for the
Yeah.
fall. It's exciting.
Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you.
Matthew.
Thanks. Next up, we have the Superintendent's Report with Dr. Brian Waterman.
Okay, thank you, President Dillon. I also want to welcome Matthew to the table as our student rep to the board. The board doesn't know this yet, but Matthew is involved in a ton of stuff. So between meetings and interview committees and board rep and everything else that's going on, he's going to be here more than we are probably. So again, welcome, Matt. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
So the 22-23 school year presents us with really an amazing opportunity, and I could not be more excited for our school community to take advantage of this. Last week, to Andrew's point, we welcomed 20 new certified staff, includes classroom teachers, social workers, counselors, a new college and career counselor, a new bilingual coordinator, and so many more certified staff for induction and mentoring week. So when combined with our paraeducators, our administrative assistants, and all of our new employees, we're excited about the work that our newest Lyons, the impact they'll have on our school community. And I want to just briefly mention for those board members who were able to make it on Friday for our new teacher welcome, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to do that. I think it's a unique thing that we do here at LT, and it really gives the board a chance to individually connect with staff in a way that doesn't happen in a lot of districts. So I really appreciate that. On Wednesday, we have the chance to address all 400 plus of our staff during Opening Institute Day session. We're looking forward to sharing and celebrating our strategic planning work from the last 6 to 9 months. And then on Friday, of course, Dr. Tyrell and our building leadership team have planned an amazing freshman experience day for the class of 2026. And then, of course, 1 week from today, we will enthusiastically open our doors for 4,000 of our favorite people, the LT student body. So to kick off the year in classrooms on Monday and Tuesday, our focus is going to be on social emotional learning, on making connections, and ensuring that every student feels that sense of belonging, and creating a culture of warmth, but also resetting structure and high expectations as well. And then on Wednesday, teachers will turn their attention more to course-specific syllabi, curriculum content, grading practices, learning activities, and course expectations that will happen throughout the year. And then I want to remind everyone that we'll be sharing this information plus much more on our back to school webinar, which we will host on Thursday evening, August 18th at 7 p.m. So our district administrators and so many other staff have been working all summer to prepare for next week, and we're really excited to start the journey that is the 2022-2023 school year. So to conclude my report, since our June meeting, we've received 6 Freedom of Information requests. We had an individual requested email communications between LT employees and an educational consulting firm. We had an individual request disciplinary data from the 21-22 school year. An organization requested purchase order records for a specific time frame. Another organization requested names and email addresses for all certified staff who have announced their retirement date in the future. An individual requested our district's transportation agreement for the 22-23 school year. And then another organization requested purchase order records for a specific time frame as well. So it's good to see everyone back officially for the beginning of the school year. And that concludes my superintendent report for this evening.
Thanks, Dr. Waterman. Okay, great. All right, moving through then, we'll get on to our unfinished business under action items. Our first agenda item for unfinished business is the adoption of the LaGrange Area Department of Special Education, LADSI's fiscal year 23 budget. I don't think we had any comments or anything.
Nope, no comments. We have Ellie Ambule and Jackie Bogan from LADSI
See you
here
again.
tonight. This information's been in your packet going back to June, so they traditionally come to this meeting each year and are available to answer any questions or provide clarification on any of the information.
Thanks again for coming. Okay, with that then, is there a motion to approve the LaGrange Area Department of Special Education fiscal year 23 budget as presented and discussed?
So moved.
Marilyn, will you please call the roll?
Member Albert?
Dawn? Still on the line.
Member Vita Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Thank you. Our next agenda item is the, my favorite acronym.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
thank
There we
you.
go, there we go. You're back.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now we'll move on then. Our next agenda item is the DAOES Intergovernmental Agreement. This is a second reading.
Yep.
Dr. Waterman.
Yeah, so second reading, fourth time the board has discussed this. As I said before, DEOS is the governing system for Technology Center of DePage, which we send students to. This is really a procedural thing where ISB and JCAR a year ago updated their agreement, so all career and technical education cooperatives have to update their intergovernmental agreements in order to be in compliance. So basically the member districts, of which we're one, are all going through this process to share the agreement with their boards of education and then seek approval. So this is a second reading, fourth time. I'm happy to take any questions that there are.
Anybody? No? Okay, great. Is there then a motion to approve the DEOS Intergovernmental Agreement as presented and discussed?
So moved. Second.
And we call the roll, please.
Member Beta Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member O'Bear?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Great, thank you. Next up, under the action items, unfinished business, is the board policy update, press 109, Ed Piotrowski.
Thank you, President Dillon. This, too, is a second reading and the fourth time the Board of Education has seen these materials. We began this process back in June with the Committee of the Whole and then the regular meeting for the first reading. There are 11 policies that we are recommending for board adoption tonight. Throughout this process, there have been no changes to any of the policies as originally presented at the June Committee of the Whole. And moving forward, there are no changes being recommended tonight. So at this time, we would recommend that the board approve the 11 policies as part of Press 109. I'm happy to answer any questions if the board has any.
So, this is, Ed, is this the first, this is the second reading?
This is the second reading, correct?
Okay, okay. And it won't come back, this is all we need to do then? Okay, great, just checking. Sure. Any questions, anybody? Great, okay. Can we have a motion then to approve the board policy update, press 109 as presented?
So moved. Second.
Marilyn, will you call the roll, please?
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member O'Bear?
Yes.
Member Beta Daniels?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Our next agenda is the revised and updated Board of Education meeting dates. Dr. Waterman.
Okay. Yeah, so as a result of the June 27th workshop with IASB, we revised the meeting schedule for the 22-23 school year. From a general basis, we're looking at the first and third Mondays of the month, although there's a couple months that, because we have holidays, are the Tuesday. But in the memo in the packet, it reflects that updated, or the discussion from that conversation. So happy to take any questions, but these are dates that I think you guys are all aware of.
And we'll just, and these will be posted,
Yep.
obviously,
Yep.
afterwards for the public to see the new dates.
Yep.
Okay?
And just high level, the shift is from kind of the practice that we've seen this month in August, which is committee of the whole on Monday, some Monday.
yeah,
Okay, usually
yep.
the second Monday.
Yep.
And then we'd been coming back as a board immediately
So
that very
we're going
next
from second and
Monday.
third to first and third.
Yes,
Yep.
okay. And that hopefully will allow for everybody involved, which is a lot of you and your team, as well as us to continue to kind of digest what we heard at Committee of the Whole, perhaps have more items clarified between meetings. It just seemed like such a tight time frame previously. So I'm excited to try the new format, and
Try it out.
Great,
thanks for talking about it.
thanks. All right,
Yeah,
then.
we need a motion to.
Yeah. Is there a motion then to approve those revised, the revised and updated Board of Ed meeting dates as presented?
So moved. Second?
Marilyn, if you can call the roll again?
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member O'Bear?
Yes.
Member Beta Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Okay, that concludes our unfinished business. We're moving on to new business. Our first agenda item under new business is the change orders with Great Western Abatement. Ryan Stachek.
Thank you, President Dillon. As we discussed last week at the finance portion of the committee of the whole meeting, this is an increase to the contract with Great Western Abatement. There were two change orders, one for $24,261 and one for $2,378. And again, as a quick recap, additional asbestos that was found during the projects, and that's essentially what we're paying for here. So, as I said, these are common occurrences when you have projects that involve, well, any projects for that matter. You can also have deductive change orders, but you'll see a larger number of these coming forward with all the projects we had going this summer. But this one essentially is an increase in the contract for a total contract of $82,150 with the addition of those two change orders.
Are there any questions? I know we talked about this a little bit last week. Okay. All right, so we were expecting this. Then is there a motion to approve the change orders with Great Western Abatement?
So moved.
Second. Marilyn, would you please call the roll?
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member Albert?
yes,
Member Beta Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. And then just to keep our facilities moving right along, we have next up the HVAC system repair request for emergency authorization. Back to you, Brian.
Thank you again. So yes, this is, again, we also discussed this last week. We have the existing chiller at South Campus that in the process of attaching and connecting it to the new chiller because they will work in tandem. There was a discovery that one of the compressors was not working on that existing chiller, and there are also software upgrades that need to be done. And so this is not because of this project that we're adding, we're adding the air conditioner. It's not because this would have had to have been done regardless, obviously, as we would have found it. So there's roughly $190,000 worth of expected repairs. And so we're looking for that emergency provision for the board so that we can move forward with a company in getting everything done here as quickly as we can. It's probably going to even still take a little bit of time because of supply chain issues, but we want to get this thing rolling here as quickly as we can so we can get the repairs finished.
And this impacts the B and C wings, you said before, right?
It does, but the existing chiller is still running.
Okay.
And is still producing, cold air.
Okay.
And once we bring on the other chiller, it's also going to add that.
Okay.
But without this additional compressor, they aren't running at their most
Okay.
efficient capacity.
Okay. And didn't you say too, the compressor, was it 60 years old? I don't know if I'm making that
No,
up.
that was
Okay,
not.
okay.
No, that chiller, existing chiller was installed in 2004, 2005.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's pretty common, probably.
I don't know if it's common, but
Okay.
it happens.
Okay. All right. I'll stop asking questions about that. So clearly, I like to ask air conditioning questions. Is there a motion to approve the HVAC system repair request for emergency authorization?
So moved.
Second. Marilyn, would you please call the roll?
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member Albert?
yes,
Member Beta Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Great, thank you, Brian. Next agenda, because we'll keep it with you, is the fiscal year 2023 Lyons Township High School District 204 tentative budget. Mr. Stachak.
Thank you, President Dillon. Yes, before you have the first rendition, or the tentative rendition for adoption tonight of the FY23 fiscal year 23 budget, and again, that covers the 22-23 school year. I went through, in great detail last week, and all the bullet points we talked about those, so you have those in front of you. We won't go back through those again. But I just quickly draw your attention to page 74, which gives you that nice budget summary there. We're expecting $93.4 million in revenue and expecting $97.2 million of expense for about a $3.8 million deficit, which we knew, we had anticipated that happening with the larger number of construction projects, renovation projects that we had going on this summer. And so, again, this particular budget also assumes roughly $5 million of projects for next summer as well, because, some of those projects for next summer in June will be charged to this existing, this new budget. So that being said, there will be, I just, again, wanted to reiterate, this is tentative. What will happen now is there will be a notice in the paper on Thursday that we have a tentative budget on file and is available for viewing here in the district. We will also put that up on the website as well. And then what we will do is, there's no doubt I'll be making some changes to this between now and September, because I'm still acquiring some additional information. And as I do that, I will make the updates to that and bring this back to you in September. But again, we will then have a public hearing at the September, I think it's September 19th meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
To adopt the final budget then in September. But again, tentative, there will be some changes coming, and I will let you know what those changes are when we get to September.
Brian, refresh my memory, and I think we talked about this, but I just don't have the note on it. Part of the 5 million allocated for 2023 includes the field house that we moved over
It does.
to 2023 because of
Yes.
equipment or whatever.
Yeah. So in the 2023 budget, what's going to happen is that work for the field house here at North Campus will start in June of this existing of this 2023 budget.
Okay.
So I have a percentage of that budgeted into this year's budget, the 23 budget, and then some of it will get kicked over to the 24 budget as well. Because once we cross that fiscal year line in July 1st, we will then be in the 24 budget. So whatever work they get done in May and June of 23, we will pay for in this budget. Anything after that, July 1st on, will be paid in the 24 budget.
Ballpark number on that whole project.
So that project right now, the project, just the field house, is a little over $2 million. However, I will tell you, I'm budgeting probably closer to 2.1 million because I think we're going to have some increased costs. That's going to come in the form of storage. If, let's say, they deliver the 9 air handling units, in November, as they're kind of talking about, we're going to have to pay to store those for some period of time. There's also potential labor increases. There's also potential for materials increases as well. So putting a little bit more money from what the bid was. We have not had those conversations yet with F.E. Moran. We will start to have those here as we wanted to wind down the projects this summer first, and then we'll get into those discussions. So that number is also a bit fluid at this point, but I'll bring you some updated information as we go.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So did you add 2 million more to air condition, like for the J-wing?
I did not, and the reason I did not.
Well, I was wondering, I thought I saw that as a change that was in this recent packet.
The reason that I did not is because with all, what I initially budgeted for the summer of '23, there was enough, including the J-wing. I had made the comment during the tentative budget that I had about $5 million worth of actual project cost in there for 2023. So that number absorbed. All we would have done is if we didn't have the J-wing, we would have reduced it by that $2 million, and that would be a percentage, so probably, roughly 70, let's call it 75% of that, right? $1.5 million we would have taken out of there. And all it would have done is reduce the deficit. But at this point, I'm fairly confident that with the money that we had existing, because I just put sort of a block of money into the budget for 2023 to start covering June of 2023 as well. So what we would have, like I said, I believe there's enough money in the current budget right now so that we don't have to increase it by another $2 million.
I think, Michael, you're looking at the capital projects for summer of 2023. So
Are we not there yet?
No, yeah, we're not yet.
On the
I
budget.
jumped ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I jumped ahead.
We're moving quick tonight.
We're there
but
next,
not
though.
moving
We're not, we're there
backwards.
next.
Let me ask this, did I answer the question?
You answered a completely different question, but that's okay.
I want to make sure I'm answering the right question.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all good.
Brian, can you remind us the timing of the audit, like when the audited financials from 2021, 2022 school year will be, or ballpark of when they're finalized?
Sure. So typically what happens, because we work on a modified accrual basis, our books are still open. The fiscal year ends on June 30. We will have our books open through the end of August because we're still receiving invoices that pertain to anything prior to June 30 of 2022. So we will accrue those pay them and accrue them into the prior year. Auditors have already been in one time for their preliminary field work. They will be in, I believe it's the Monday after Labor Day. So I don't know what that is. I'm not sure what the date is on that, maybe the 12th
The
of
12th,
September,
yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
And they will do their field work that week. Typically, they're here about 3 days. We will get preliminary reports probably once they're done with all their work, end of October, beginning of November. And then I don't know if we'll have enough time to get them to the board for November, but we will for December.
Okay. So you won't have a preliminary sense in terms of where we ended up by the time we're talking about this tentative budget again in September?
I will have, I'll probably have some better, I won't have the exact information.
No.
But I'll have some better idea.
Okay.
Because we will have closed the books on all of the accruals.
Yep.
We can, start putting together what those accruals look like, and we can start doing some of that work and get a fairly good idea.
Okay, I think it would be helpful if possible to remind us of maybe the trailing two-year trend. So the 2020, 2021 school year or fiscal year we ended up with a surplus of X million.
Right.
We budgeted for this major fieldhouse air conditioning project that parts of it at least would have hit the period under audit. Not all of it did because the work didn't happen. So I'm just curious how the let me get my years right, 2021, 2022 looks, and if we've got surpluses in both years, that might help frame our discussion around this deficit that we're projecting, and also the questions that some of us asked last week about new air conditioning projects or new other capital spend projects, because it's a lot to kind of track and try to figure out where we are. And I know even from the strategic plan, there's goals around finance and having that right balance between that financial health and an appropriate fund balance, but also making sure we're investing in the right projects to better the school. So
Yes, exactly. I should be able to provide that for you. I think what makes it complicated is the fact that in the middle of the summer, we changed the fiscal year. And so some of that's in one fiscal
right.
year, that cost, and then the cost in the next fiscal year, even though it's the same summer of projects.
Right.
And then I also have to budget for the following June of that year as well.
Sure.
So, yeah, so we're really kind of a year out, in those projects. But absolutely, we can
Okay.
get some more information
Great.
like that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. Then can we have a motion to approve the fiscal year 2023 Lyons Township High School District 204 tentative budget as presented?
So moved. Second?
Marilyn, we call the roll, please.
Member Albert?
Yes.
Member Beta Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. And next up is the fiscal year 2023 summer capital projects. Back to you, Mr. Stachek.
Thank you, President
Thanks.
Dillon. So from our conversation last week, we talked about really four initial projects, some clay tile roofing here at North Campus, also replacing the North Campus library, the air handling unit there, which provides existing air conditioning, and also a replacement of the LTTV studio, their air handling equipment, which also provides existing air conditioning. And then the fourth project we talked about was that of the video scoreboard, the replacement of that at the South Campus pool. So those were the projects we initially talked about. Based upon the discussion that we had with the committee, we are also going to add, as you can see here on line 6, the potential addition of air conditioning to the South Campus J Wing for the summer of 2023. I say potential because what we're looking at here is going out to bid, and we're going to have to be confident in a contractor, number one, that they can get the work done in that time period, and then number two, along with getting the work done, that they can actually get the materials that they need to get those done as well. However, tonight, all we're discussing is simply the action for the board to approve creation of bid specifications and then the process of going to public bid. So that's all we're looking for tonight. What we will do is once we have those public bids back in hand, we'll share those with the board, and we'll have quite a bit more information at that point as to the contractors, how they're feeling, their confidence level in actually completing these jobs, and where they are with their supplies, materials, and all that sort of thing. So, but again, tonight we're just simply saying we wanted to add that J-wing based on the discussion, and then we'll go out for bid, the bid specifications, go out to bid, and we'll see where it takes us from there.
Awesome.
I just have a couple questions about that. My recollection of the conversation was a little bit different. Like that we had talked about doing the science wing was, maybe didn't service as many kids as there were other places that we could do that could service more kids. Why was that one selected?
So we talked about that with our architects, and the reason the J-wing is selected is because right now, at some point in the history of the work that was done at South Campus, that wing is actually prepped and ready for air conditioning. So it actually is an I would say easier, but potentially an easier project for us to complete in that summer of 2023, because it's already, I don't want to say half the work is done, but a portion of it is already done. And so it would probably be our best bet to add the air conditioning and do it successfully in time for the summer of for August of 2023.
So like, that would be, when you look at all the different areas that could have air conditioning added, you're saying that that was the easiest, that it would be the most
It is for right now.
easy one to.
Doesn't
achieve.
involve another chiller.
Correct. That's the other piece.
Or the roof coming
Yeah.
off.
Like we have the chiller capacity to simply add the air conditioning to the classrooms.
Got it. So
Yep.
it's
Yep.
the least invasive?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good way to
Yes.
say it. yeah.
Probably the most feasible to accomplish too.
Okay. And we're not, I mean, there's been no agreement on the board, from the board, right, that we're voting on the 2 million, we're just putting it out to bid.
It's
Correct.
just an authorization to go out to bid specs, or to create bid specs.
Right.
Okay.
And is it both, can I ask a question? You had more.
No, I'm good.
Are you sure?
You go for it.
Okay.
Probably
Is
will
it,
be a much more intelligent question than me.
no, I want to know more
It's
about
your
J-Wing.
members.
Is it both first and second floor of J-Wing?
Correct.
Okay,
That's
and
right.
so that's, from my recollection, a wing along, I call it the back, but the west side
Yes.
facing the fields.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gets some western exposure, at least the classrooms on the one half of the floor. I think from experience within my household, they get pretty warm, not even by afternoon, even earlier. So, great. And then, okay,
I didn't
that's
even
it.
know it was 2 stories. Look at you.
Look at
Two
that.
stories.
J-Wing, you got first floor and second
14
floor.
classrooms, but they're
Yeah,
labs, so
14
they're
science
bigger
labs.
science
thinking it was
labs,
like
so
one. I didn't
it's
picture it
2
two
stories, but it's about 7 classrooms per floor.
And remember too, every cost you see here is simply an estimate. Once we receive those bids back, then we have actual costs, and we know what they look like. And, you know, again, we try to, when we give you these costs, we try to be a little more conservative, and hopefully the bids come in better. But all I can tell you is, last year, we weren't.
No.
We thought we were conservative, and granted, that was a little bit of a change, a little bit more of a changing market than what we're seeing right now. And so, you know, that can continue here as well, some of that uncertainty. But once we get those bid specs back, the actual bids back, then we know what the actual cost will be.
And that's good news on the chiller, because I thought we were kind of at max capacity at South Campus with all the B-wing and C-wing work we were doing with the new chiller, that we would be, for more work, we would need to invest in another chiller, but you just said that that's not
Correct.
the case.
That's right.
Oh,
This,
good.
this will finish that off.
Okay,
So
then we'll be at max capacity with the
In-
existing chillers.
In the
Okay.
likely event that we want to add more air conditioning to South Campus in the future, we will have to add a third cooling tower chiller to that facility. There's no doubt about that.
What other classrooms are we missing?
Well, so the
Right,
E-wing,
E&D.
the
E-wing.
D-wing. I think that's pretty much it,
Yeah.
for the most part. Some of the classrooms that are down by the PE facilities, that sort of thing, down there, we'll
The
have to
health
look at those, because
classrooms,
they're quite a distance.
And D-wing has like aviation and ceramics
Yep,
and.
art classes,
art,
aviation,
Okay,
yep.
and E-wing has some
E
social
is
studies.
social studies, yep.
These social studies, yeah.
Got it, you're good.
Oh,
It's good
Wow,
memory.
yeah, it's like, that's
Wow.
I'll be giving
impressed.
tours after the meeting for everyone, South Campus tours.
Julie's the new docent.
That's good.
I really appreciate you putting that together so quickly, because we were not expecting that to be part of this tonight, and that was a lot of quick work on your part, and I appreciate it, and with the architects. So I know you guys must have been scrambling to get that together, and I appreciate you doing it.
Thankfully, and thank you for that, and again, thankfully, they have the drawings from when that prior work was done, and that's why we were talking about this, saying, look, this is the one that really makes the most sense, because we're, I don't want to say halfway there, but at least a quarter of the way there with that work already done, so thank you, and I'll let them know as well.
Yeah, please.
Thanks. Anybody else? Okay, great. Then can we have a motion to authorize the preparation of bid specifications for the proposed fiscal year 23 summer capital projects as presented?
So moved.
Second?
And Marilyn, would you call the roll, please?
Member Beta Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member Aubert?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, I think we're done with you. I think we're done with you, Brian. Our next agenda items are the Policy review and recommendations for policies 7240 and policy 7180, prevention of and response to bullying, intimidation, and harassment. First reading, Dr. Waterman.
Yeah, so this, as opposed to Press 109 earlier this evening, that was a second reading. This is only a first reading, so we have plenty of time to, take questions and bring this back in September for a second reading. But beginning back in April, the Board of Ed policies 7240, 7180, 720, and 7190 were reviewed by Franzik just for potential updates. It's also included discussions with the leadership team, and then Carrie and Joe B. Daniels as well. So following the review, policies 720 and 7190 did not require any changes or revisions, but Franzik is recommending updates to policies 7180 and 7240, which we discussed last week. 7180 is the prevention of and response to bullying, intimidation, and harassment. There was a update to the restorative measures definition that's now aligned with the language of school code. And then also, we recommend amending language of 7 and 8 within the policy, just to give us more flexibility in terms of responding to retaliation, false accusations, and things like that. So that was 7180. And then for 7240 on code of conduct, let me go back to my notes here, I just lost my page. It's recommended that the language be updated to expand prohibited conduct in the code to include violations of board policy like hazing, harassment, discrimination, and bullying. So again, that's another update that Franzik's recommending just to give us more flexibility. So really where we're at now with the first reading is, if there are either questions tonight or if you think of things between now and September, let us know and we can bring those back, but we will bring this back for a second reading in September.
Can I add something, Brian, to
Yep.
the conversation that we had about this? I know, like, one of the questions that was asked was why the focus on extracurricular activities?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, in going back then and reviewing my notes from the conversation that we had following up on the meeting, that the one, I'm probably not going to get the right code, is it 190 that was in the school?
Yeah, 7240 is the code of conduct one. Is
No,
it?
the bullying.
Oh, the bullying was,
Bullying,
sorry,
but-
7180. Yep.
Okay, so we were not making any changes to, no,
Oh, no, she's talking about 190.
190.
Yeah,
Because
not-
that didn't need to have any changes, but the
Right.
reason why, because that was so, if you look at that, that's like 4 pages or something like that. And that had a lot of meat to it.
Yep.
And that's why we only addressed the after-school activities, because it seemed like, I think when, like, kind of revisiting it and flipping over it, we were very light on, why didn't we address it in the school, and why was the focus of the extracurricular activities? And I think, going back on it, it didn't need any changes, because it
Right.
really encompassed so much within that we needed to make it to the extracurricular activities to give it a little bit more meat.
Yes.
And that's why it was not changed. But I think,
Right.
I just wanted to kind of chime in on that. I think maybe, Michael, you had a question about that? Like, why was there so much focus put on the extracurricular activities?
Well,
Yeah.
I was
what's
gonna-
the question?
yeah, I was going to add, really the change here is historically, our code of conduct accountability measures were tied to school consequences. Now, this update has explicitly added the language in the code of conduct around hazing, bullying, intimidation, whereas before, a student would have to get a consequence from the school for that to apply. So now, it just gives us a little more flexibility in the language. Is that what you were asking about?
I think a little bit, but I think it was more of why were we just so focused on their extracurricular activities? But I didn't think we needed to focus on the in-school because it was already sufficient.
Well, but I think the review done by Franzik was focused on all 4. They just
It was, right, but
didn't
why didn't we
recognize
make
any
any
date.
changes to 190?
Right, so they didn't see they didn't have any recommendations for updates on
Right, but I think
7-1.
from the conversation we had, it seemed like more of like we were just focused on the extracurricular
Okay.
activities, but that was not, I just wanted to make that clear, that was
That
not
we-
our conversation
yeah.
that we had. We had looked at all of them,
Right.
and there wasn't a need to change
Right.
the 190, because it was, there was a lot of.
Pretty comprehensive.
Right, so, and that's why the question was asked on my part, because that wasn't specifically clear, because the rest of the board wasn't in on the
Okay.
Right.
committee. So
Okay.
I was asking for clarification.
Okay.
But does that kind of clarify it a little bit more for you?
Yeah, it does,
Yeah.
thank you.
Great. And I guess if there's any other questions between now and September,
Yep.
we can reach out to you.
Let us know.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for going through those.
Great. And our next agenda item for new business is the approval of the 2022-2023 LTHS Student Handbook. Leslie Owens and Dr. Tyrell.
Thank you, President Dillon. Last week, Dr. Tyrell and I presented some comparison behavioral data from the school year prior to the pandemic and last school year, which we're considering after the pandemic, even though we know not quite. Along with an outline of some of the ways we use that data to plan for programming and strengthen our interventions and our practices here at LT. And then some changes that we are recommending, some somewhat minor changes to the handbook for this school year. We also provided some follow-up information to the board based on questions in between last week's meeting and this week's meeting. But in the packet for tonight, there are a couple changes that were added additionally after that are outlined to the student handbook about graduation requirements. But tonight we are just asking for the board to approve the 2022-2023 student handbook as it is presented in the packet.
I'm not clear, because it's highlighted here in the packet, the part about the Constitution and the civics.
That was changed.
Yeah, so
'Cause I don't,
all of that had been removed from our policy when we added civics. And so after we had the meeting, we just double checked that the policy language and the handbook policy our language matched. And that whole paragraph is not in our policy, so we removed that.
So that's an update from last week,
Yeah,
right?
so the current handbook now reflects what our policy reflects, and that was based upon what you asked last week, Michael. So we made that change from last week to this week, so that way the handbook is accurate.
okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Great. Excited that we saw this, and that will continue, and that you're going to work on that committee. I know we talked about that last week, too, so, thank you.
Can I ask one basic question about this? The revision on the student graduating, being in the last year of high school, if a student goes away for that year, it has been at LT, goes away because of possibly a sporting scenario or something for that last year, they don't graduate with the class if they're at?
You mean like exchange students, or?
No, that should have been removed as well. So if that's still in there, we'll need to take that as well. That was one of those things that it kind of goes back to quite a while ago. I'm going to say more than 30 years ago, where you didn't want students to go to one school up until January and then switch and get an LT diploma. Well, the rules have changed a lot for homeschooling and all these other things, and really
we would not grant students a diploma at one point if they
Right.
transferred in after a certain date, but
in practice we've not
school
done
code
that,
does not
and
let you do that anymore.
it's not in our policy. So that's something that was all in that same paragraph that really had to come out, because there was a time it was like, oh, you don't get an LT diploma, get a diploma from the school you went to before, but then they were taking their classes here and graduating, this is where they lived. So we haven't done that as a practice for years.
So wait, to clarify, so if a child does go homeschool that last senior year, but is resident, they don't graduate with LT?
Homeschool's a little different, and again, a lot of these, we have to sit down with the families and go through what they have, what the credits are that they've earned, if they're even here. If they're not here, they don't get an LT diploma. So again, it's some of that really goes on an individual basis. So to have a blanket statement that says if you show up in the last semester, you don't get an LT diploma, that just doesn't hold water anymore. So that's being taken out as well. With the homeschool laws are very much in favor of the homeschool, which is fine. We just have to make sure we're following, and we're granting credit. We're not necessarily giving grades, because the homeschool has their own transcript that they send to colleges. So there's lots of fine tuning of that when you get to the end of the year, at the end of the graduation component for a homeschooled student. So So there's a lot of finesse to it that doesn't really fit a blanket statement about a
So
semester.
it's really an individual basis
Yeah.
per family. Okay.
I just had a phone call from a parent today about it, so.
Fresh in your mind.
Yep.
Okay, great then. Is there a motion to approve the 2022-2023 Lyons Township High School Student Handbook as presented?
Second?
And Marilyn, will you call the roll, please?
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member O'Bear? Yes. Member Beta Daniels?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Thank you. Our final agenda item under new business is consideration of settlement agreement.
So the board has received and discussed information related to this agenda item. Just as a reminder, this item is subject to the Illinois School Student Records Act and also the Family Educational Rights Privacy Act, and contains confidential information.
Thank you. Is there a motion then to approve the settlement agreement that was previously shared and discussed with the board?
So moved.
Second?
Marilyn, will you please call the roll?
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
No.
Member O'Bear? Yes. Member Beta Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Thank you. Now we will move on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Marilyn, will you call the roll again, please?
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member O'Bear? Yes. Member Beta Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. At this time, we'll now begin the non-agenda related portion of our public comments. And Marilyn, I think, did you say we have some non-agenda
We
related
do.
comments tonight? Okay, great. Just as a reminder, I just want to thank everyone for joining us again at this evening's meeting. And there are two opportunities for audience members to address the Board of Education. Agenda-related comments are welcome at the beginning, and non-agenda-related comments before we adjourn. We appreciate community participation, but please understand the board does not engage in dialogue or discussion. If there's a specific question or comment that requires follow-up, the appropriate administrator will respond at a later time. And lastly, pursuant to Board Policies 2230 and 830, individuals addressing the board are expected to conduct themselves with respect and civility. And in the interest of time, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And thank you for cooperating with us to make this evening's meeting efficient and productive. Marilyn, will you call our first speaker, please?
Becky Lauritsen.
Hi, everybody. So welcome back. And I just wanted to briefly announce tonight the Diversity Days in LaGrange. There's a flyer. I believe you guys are going to put it on your website. And this is our 31st annual Race Unity Rally, and it's held in Village Hall. And last year, the many administrators and members of the school board participated and shared all that you're doing to support diversity. We're having a little different program this year. We've got a Lifetime Achievement Award to one of the Sisters of St. Joe, who's done a lot of race unity work, Marlene Schemmel, and some of you may know Reverend Al Banks is going to get our community award. So we always hear from the police department, a lot of different people, so please come. And the other opportunity is on Friday night, the 9th of September at 5:45. We're going to be showing a movie, Driving While Black. So you get free popcorn, free pizza, and watch a movie, and then we have an opportunity to talk about it afterwards. So this would be a good opportunity for those who don't know the history of Driving While Black to learn a little bit more and to talk to people and learn from each other. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Marilyn?
Ruann.
My name is Ruth Ann Vion, and I live at 4738 Howard Avenue in Western Springs. My family has been a close neighbor of LT for more than 30 years. We've enjoyed the fact that our proximity allowed our disabled son to walk to school for the first time when he was a freshman, and could walk home after participating as manager of the baseball team for 4 years. As former educators, we're cognizant of the benefits of extracurricular activities and opportunities for social interaction that may include loud music. We've welcomed the return of students each fall by the heralding of the sounds of the LT marching band practicing, and we continue to enjoy the energy that most of the student activities bring to our neighborhood. I served on the Board of Education at LT shortly after the lights on Bennett Field were installed. At that time, members of the athletic department and the administration worked with the neighbors regarding parking and noise concerns. In fact, the members of the athletic department put up temporary parking signs each home game until the permanent signs were installed. As very senior residents, we're now rejoicing that our block is being renewed by new young families. Once again, we have toddlers and preschoolers and bike riders of middle school age. In anticipation of the academic year and keeping in mind the changing demographics of your neighbors, I'm here to request the Board of Education ensure that LT remains a conscientious neighbor, committed to observing the Western Springs noise abatement ordinances, and respectful of the commitments that have been made in the past by previous boards of education with regard to the use of Bennett Field and surrounding athletic fields. We're asking that the recent addition of raucous, superfluous music, such as that being played during various sports practices, such as baseball, be curtailed, and that you share with all of your neighbors the policies governing the use of a potentially disruptive addition to our living environment, the new scoreboard. As with most matters of change, considerate and inclusive communication may be the key. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our non-agenda related public comments this evening. Thank you, everyone. I guess with that, let's get our fall season started. Let's get back to school. Is there a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the week.